Okay, good morning. So we're working on our name and date speech. So hopefully you've seen this. If you haven't seen this, you're probably a little bit behind. But this is all the research and all the information you have to include. All the stuff that's in bold is stuff that you need to include. There are websites on here that'll help you look for stuff. This is information over your birthday. This is the outline you're supposed to do, and hopefully you're well on your way onto the outline. And the last is the visual aid. So when you are working on your outline, I started on mine. Mine is not complete. It's not correct. There are a lot of things I have to fix on it. But you can see that it's quite long, but that's just because I'm listing a bunch of different things. So my outline has all of these things that I'm going to use to just put into my slides presentation. Now, the thing about an outline is that when you're using an outline, just because you have all of this information doesn't mean you have to say it. The outline is just a way for you to kind of organize your thoughts. And it's what you hand in so that I can make sure that, well, you organize your thoughts. Okay? So when you go to make your visual aid, you're going to do some things with it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But this is basically what you want your visual aid to look like. When I'm on a particular slide like this, okay, you see these little, I guess they're circles layered on top of each other. If I click on that, oh, it won't let me click on that. Okay, so if I want to animate this, I'm going to right click on it and go down to animate. Okay, and it's going to pull up all of this stuff on the side. So basically, what it's going to do is it's going to say the transition. Okay, it's going to fade. So I can set that at whatever pace I want, 0.1 second to, what is that, 5 seconds? 5 seconds actually doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is quite fast. Okay, so when my transition, I don't want it to necessarily fade. Let's say I want it to flip. Okay, so that's how this slide is going to come in. Okay, then the next thing is I have to have animation on each slide. So that's a text box, and this is a text box. So when I go into this text box, that is, well, this is the text box that's going to come up first. You can see because that's the next one. And then when I click on that, that comes up here. So this one doesn't have an animation. So I'm going to add an animation right now. Okay, so I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to animate. Okay, and then I'm going to choose how I want it to animate. I can choose any of these guys. So flying from top, let's say. And then this is the tricky part. I want to not do it on click. I want to do it on after previous. Okay, and I don't want it to be fast or slow. I'm going to go with fast because that's going to be the first thing that I want after the transition comes in. Okay, so now I want that the first thing, so I got to put it in a different order here. So I have to put that first. Okay, I'm going to show you what this by paragraph thing means here. Okay, this one is after previous, medium speed. I want that to slow down just a skosh so that I can read all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click by paragraph. And what by paragraph will do is it's going to, each time there's a hard return, so there's a return here, return here, return here, it's going to do it line by line. Okay, so let me show you how that looks. Okay, so I'm going to start with the slide. Okay, I'm going to present it, and then once I start, I'm going to push this play button. That's what the play button does, is it's there so that you can actually play it. So here we go. This is how my first slide goes. If you remember, I put that transition in there, and I put it in rather slowly. And then I put in that to come in, and then it did not do it line by line, but normally it does. So then it transitions into my next one, and then I have my thoughts and ideas that I want to say. And then it will transfer it directly into the next one. Again, I need a different transition. And it slowly goes through all of the information that I have and that I need. So when you're doing your speech, that's what you're going to have to do, is you're going to have to set those things. So when I did this, for instance, when I did, let's take a look at my animations over here. I've got the fade to fairly slow, It's a fade, and it goes when, oh, that's my transition. So I'm going to want to change that to, let's go from slide from right to left. And we don't need that to be quite so slow. We can put that at medium. This fade, you can see, is by paragraph. So let me just show you what this one looks like, how it does it by paragraph. See how that's one, and then the next piece of information comes in like that, and then the next piece of information comes in like that. So it gives me a little bit of time to talk about all of those things that I want to talk about. Okay, so that's where this part comes in, the slow or the fast. You're going to want to play with that. The other thing is you're going to have to practice while you're doing it so that you can actually practice speaking, so you can figure out, oh, that's too fast, or oh, that's too slow. And that way you can figure out, make sure your transitions are correct. Now, this slide has the exact right thing that I'm supposed to have. I don't have a transition, so I want to make sure I put in a transition. I'm going to do the cube here, okay? But I also have this, okay? And that is a GIF, I know. Piper, don't kill me. But every single page has to have some sort of clip art on it. So, for instance, this one doesn't have a clip art on it, but it does have this text box. So as long as I have my text box, or I have a piece of clip art that can actually be animated, I'm okay. But every single thing has to have some sort of thing that gets animated and some sort of transition. So let's go from this and let's take a look at what exactly happens. Okay, that's transition. That is bringing it in, but I don't have any animation. On our next one, we're going to see that we have a transition, which is where it slowly changes the cube. Okay, I might want to fasten that up, make that a faster. And then I've got I had my transition, and here I have my animation. So every slide has to have all of those things. So keep that in mind. How many slides you have is completely up to you. It doesn't really matter. You have to have at least one of these per Roman numeral. So a minimum, I guess, of 3 plus a title slide. But you're going to find that you're going to want to put a lot of your information on so that you can actually read off of this and interact with it so that it becomes part of the presentation, not just what you're reading. So you can look over here based on these. This is the number of slides I have. This tells you I have animations on them. Okay. And then I just put a black slide here because I like to have a slide where I just stopped so that I know that that's where I stopped, as opposed to, okay, now I have to go back and figure out where I'm at and all of that. So there's that. That's the first thing. So that's how you're going to do that. Now, one really cool thing I want to show you before I end this video is if you go to Slides Carnival, see how it's typed in there already? So if I type in Slides Carnival, and it can be one word or two, it doesn't matter. It'll direct you to the same place. You can get free PowerPoint and free Google Classroom or Google Slides backgrounds. So basically, you can choose any of these that you want, and you can scroll through them. But if you want something simple, you can choose these guys. Okay, there's lots of different ones to choose from. I use this one for my agenda and my freshman class. I've used all sorts of different ones. That one's pretty simple. I tend to use Playful, or I use Creative. This is what I started with, but it was way too busy. I didn't end up liking it. But here's the presentation I used. So I click on it, and once I click on it, I go to Preview and Download. I'm going to use as Google Slides theme, okay? And then it pulls up the template, and it says Use Template here. Click on Use Template, and then it's going to take a hot second because you know our Wi-Fi is slow. Okay, so what I want to do is I can either just go ahead and write into this, or again, I can go to make a copy and then make a copy of the slides, and then it'll be there. So if I close out all of this stuff and I go back to my home page and I refresh, this is my presentation, and now I have that template always in my Google Docs, or Google Drive. So the benefit of going to Slides Carnival is you can make some of your presentations look a little more interesting than just the plain old templates that they offer you. Okay, so if you have any questions, ask, and I will do my best to answer the questions you might have.